We're here with Sue Paterno. Welcome. It's great to have you here.
Nice to be here in the library with you.
Here we are with WHVL and the launch campaign of our own. State College, how's it changed so much since you got here? And here now it's got its own television station. And
Right, which is brand new. We only had two radio stations. I don't know where to start how it's changed. In fact, the library has more than doubled. Campus has grown by leaps and bounds, and I think the biggest thing that hits me is the number of students with cars, which puts more traffic on the roads for all of us. But number of students has changed, number of buildings has changed. I think the quality of students, I think the SAT scores are much, much higher than they were. I came in '58, so that's a long 100 years ago, isn't it?
it doesn't seem possible, does it? It just goes by so fast.
But the campus, I think it's beautiful. If you walk around, when this construction's all over, if you walk around campus, it's absolutely beautiful. I really was sad when the creamery moved because that's been a tradition. I was here when I was 5, so then you went up the steps and got an ice cream cone. I was sad that it was going to move because there was so much history there. But now you go there and it's easier and it's bigger and it's not as crowded. And then if you walk out of the creamery, just to show you how beautiful it is, you walk out of the creamery, turn right and start walking toward the business building and the forestry building. You look right down there, you see all the way across Park Avenue, you see the horizon. And you just, what a beautiful world it is. If it's not raining, I mean, a sunny day makes it prettier.
Do you remember your first football eve?
My first football eve, that's not too long ago. 1, 2, 3. Yes, I remember it. The fireworks?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember it. It was new and different and took a lot of the grandchildren. We had a ball.
So do you think we're going in the right direction with all that and with the football eve, and you think it's a
And
good
what we
thing?
do, Blue White Weekend, free admission and autograph session. Yes, I think it's good to have family outings that are free because everything else costs so much. I think it's really it's an exciting event, but I also think it's really good for families to go together, sit together, and have it be free.
And what was it like for you, your first time, with Joe on the sideline, going back so many years now and seeing him as a coach, just starting the season it was totally different than it is now. How big it's gotten, it's so different. It must be. You must have saw the football stadium at one time over in this location.
Right, they moved in, let's see, it was my sophomore year, so it was, as soon as the last game was over in '59, we started watching them during that school year. I lived in McKee Hall, which was right across from the old stadium. Watched them tearing it apart and moving it. And then one addition, 2 additions. The one addition, Joe said, come over, we're going to raise the stadium, bring the kids. So I took the movie camera, 5 kids. I think in 2 hours it might have moved 1 millimeter. I mean, I thought, well, when's it moving? I said, well, it is, we're going home. But it was exciting too to watch them put up the Jumbotron. Kept going over and it kept getting delayed. So when I finally went over and they finally did it, I did forget the camera.
Did you ever think it would get this big?
I never to be honest with you, Kenny, I never thought about it. Things just happened. When they put the what's that section called down at the end, the Lion's Den?
Yeah.
When they put that on, now you think I'm nuts, I can identify when it was. It was '91 because it was right before I had back surgery. And Joe said, people are saying it's too hard to climb up. So I was at a TENS unit on and a brace, a back brace. And he said, let's see what you think. So I climbed all the way up. And if you can do it with a TENS unit in pain and back brace, I said, the view is unbelievable. And anyone who can't climb shouldn't do it, but it's a magnificent view. And I looked right out at Mount Nittany, and it was an evening, sunset was over, and it was beautiful. And the people who have their seats there don't want to move.
Oh, they must have.
They're the Lion's Den or Lion's Pride. Do you know what it's called?
I think Lion's Den.
I'll know when the first game comes. I'll look down there and see.
What are some of the bigger, the people that have influenced you most? throughout your life?
Probably my parents and my siblings. And then I had some super teachers, went to a Catholic school, elementary school. I had some super teachers there and super teachers in high school that sort of directed me by not telling me, but showing me where my strong points were, which way I should head. And then with Joe, it's just one of those things that you grow and you do. You do things without, I never thought I was going to tutor, all right? But we were married a month, and J.T. White, who used to coach here, his next door neighbor's son needed a tutor that summer, so I worked with him. He's a heart surgeon, but he had trouble writing papers. So I worked with him, and then the coaches thought, okay, she can do it. So
There's a great story about Bob White, who's a captain of the 1986 team, and I've talked to Bob about this, and he says you're the main reason he got through. He's a little behind, and you caught him up.
well, I blame the school system down there because Bobby's bright. But where he lived, when it was picking season for carrots or oranges, a whole group of students were out of the classroom doing that, and then back in the classroom, and no one tried to help them catch up. And in this day and age, that shouldn't be happening. But it's what happens. So then you deal with it. And Bob worked very hard. And he was fun to work with.
Yeah, he's an exceptional man. I mean, he was exceptional then, and obviously a captain, two-time national champion. So.
Right. Well, it's funny, the first book I had him read, he was still in high school. They brought him up and I worked with him all day. And the coaches kept calling, are you going to be done soon? Because they want him to come to practice. And I said, too bad, he's here for a different reason. But I brought him to the library, that was part of it. And then I loaned him a couple books. One was Huck Finn. And after he read it, he wrote a paper, mailed it to me. I corrected it, mailed it back, called him, we talked about it. But we were down at the Sugar Bowl. When did we win that? 82. Mm-hmm. The Mississippi River was flowing right by our hotel. And I ran into Bobby the first day we were there, and I said, you know what that is? And he said, yes. No wonder they had trouble. So I thought, gee, it turns out we picked the right book to start with. I wish I knew before the season started we were going to be down there in January.
Well, you and Joe have donated so much of your time and so much money to this library. I'm pretty sure that you met your husband, Coach Paterno, in the library.
Right, my freshman year. I was dating someone from home who was on the football team. And freshman study hall at that time was in the library. That whole area has been reconfigured, so it's different. But freshman girls had to be in at 8:15. The only time I could see this person was come to the library for 10 minutes and wave and do my stuff and leave. And Joe said to me one night, he said, you like him, you better help him. So I started tutoring then.
But you've donated so much of your time and so much money to this library, and the direction it's gone has gotten so big. I mean, it's so special. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, it's, I think without a great library, Joe and I both feel that, without a great library, you can't have a great university. You'd be amazed how many notes we get from people that, thank heavens for the research they were doing, the books were available. And I think that's one thing the librarians and the dean constantly do, make sure the right textbooks are here. And it's not always just a classroom textbook, it's what they need to complement the work they're doing. I think now the library is more accessible with the computers. When I was a student, and I was an English major and did a lot of writing, we had to go to the card catalog, look up what we needed, go up to the second floor. We came to where you got your books. You had to wait in line, give them your slip of paper. Some lady went to the stacks and got the book. She might come back and say 3 books weren't here. Now you get on the computer, it tells you it's out. So you look for other research. And you've wasted all that time. And as a freshman, had to be in at 8:15, you didn't have much time. So.
Yeah, this fall is the Paterno retrospective. It's part of another fundraising campaign, and I've seen some of the artwork already, the pictures. It looks fabulous. Looks like it's going to go very well.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me, but till Shirley Davis, who is our everything person, came over and wanted me to go through some pictures to see which they wanted to use. And it's interesting. I mean, I never thought of having them do that. I never would have come up with that as an idea. I'm always looking for their displays because they do have wonderful ones. We have a great team of people in the library. They work together well and they work hard.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. There's no doubt. The grand experiments, like mixing athletics and academics, and it's still going strong after all of these years. How proud are you as to be part of that accomplishment? Because I think when you look back at, say, the Penn State football program and the tradition, I just think, you think of Dennis Onkotz, who had to take a final before a game and things. You can't even get your arms around something like that now. How proud are you of that particular tradition? 90% graduation rate.
Right. Well, my feeling is the parents generally come up with the potential athlete as Kenny's mother came with him. I think when we recruit someone, we have an obligation. The athlete has an obligation. They have an obligation to go to class, go to study hall, do their academic work. But I see no point in bringing somebody here to go to college and not have them graduate. And that's one of the reasons I've tutored. I think if someone needs some extra help, an extra push, if we lose that particular individual, in all probability, our country will lose his child or children because he will feel, well, we're not college material. So I think we have to do everything we can to give him the opportunity to work to graduate. And yes, I am proud of that.
But it's such a fine line, Sue, between recruiting an athlete, academics, and talent, and so much criticism because we have to win. We have to win. Do we win at all costs? Success with honor is something we talk about here a lot, and it's special. That fine line, I know you talk to your husband about it continuously. It has to, because it's such a, you got to win a game. How do you deal with that? I mean, is it something that's hard on you when you see that you have seasons where you might not have won a lot of games, but you're graduating and people not even looking at the win and loss of as much as the academic?
That does bother me terribly. It was never an issue because things went really well for so long. Then we hit that bad spell. I didn't realize people really don't, the outside world wants you to win. Is that our society? But we have our own value system, our own beliefs, and our own perception of what we want it to be. Mm-hmm. And that's really all that matters. So you can pull your cocoon around you and keep doing what you know is right, mm-hmm. no matter what. Sometimes it was hard to tutor on Sunday, let me tell you, mm-hmm. because the kids were all down. I couldn't pull them out. Mm-hmm. But you can't let what other people think influence what you believe in. You try to accommodate them, listen to them, then other times you think you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what the real value of this place is.
Well, it's good to see because I think we're back at that point where you can recruit a talented individual that loves to be educated. They're out there. They might not be next door, but they're out there if we search.
And you can't always win. I mean, two teams play. Only one can win. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not so lucky.
How about in that whole time, I guess you found out who your friends were, didn't you? And but sometimes it is just a box score, win or lose. But Jay got criticized an awful lot during that. I mean, how tough is that? I mean, you're a mother too, and a wife.
Right.
And the whole thing, I mean.
And a mother-in-law to the
Exactly.
wife who had to endure it. My only advice was, don't read the paper. Don't go on the internet. Don't go to the chat rooms. I don't know how to go to the chat rooms, so I'm lucky. I'm never tempted. I said, Kelly, you have the kids. That's where you concentrate. Keep your house running normally. Everything will take care of itself, which is what and to keep quiet. Yes. Don't ask stupid questions. I've done that. So. But it's harder, you have to learn. It does hurt. Because people call you on the phone too, any hour of the day or night, and people stop you and say things. You know, I would never do that to anybody. And I cannot understand why people are hurtful to other people. But that's my the way I am. And I often think as I walk away, would you want someone to do that to your wife or to your child? Would you like that if someone talked to you that way? But maybe they bet on the game. That's my other thing. They bet money and they lost it, so they're mad. Because when you get phone calls when you win, but you didn't win by enough, and you thought, oh, I don't understand the point spread or how that works, but I figured they didn't play it right, so they're mad.
To get off the topic, but the Special Olympics is something very special to you. I know Blair and myself had the chance to be involved in it.
I thank you for that.
Yes, and I thank you.
The athletes loved you.
I thank you because I had no idea. I played here, been around here, lived here. What you've done for not only those kids but for those families is something special. Can you talk about it a little bit and what made you get involved with it and get so many other people, Sheets, so many Eaton Park, so many other people donating. I know casinos and people have given money to so many different things that you've done with Special Olympics.
Well, Special Olympics is a nonprofit beyond nonprofit because every athlete that comes to the Summer Games, we have 2,200, plus the coaches. They don't pay to come, and they stay in the dorms, and they eat in the dining halls, and all the events we have for them. We have to raise all that money. They only pay a registration fee, which I think is about $15. So $15 doesn't cut anything when you think about the rooms. They're in them. Some are on Wednesday, most are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they go home Sunday. So all the money has to be raised externally from that. I think, well, I got involved in Special Olympics initially on a volunteer basis locally, and then got into the Summer Games on a fundraising end, and then as chairing committees, and you get hooked. It's the best way to put it. The reason I got hooked, our son had an accident in '77, and there wasn't a whole lot of promise that, number one, he would survive, but number two, if he did survive, there was going to be a lot of brain damage. And I went through a very long year trying to manage 4 other kids and do what I had to do for him, because it was a slow process. Now, we had miracle on miracle, and he has his master's from Penn State in engineering and then some. But I thought, okay, there was a reason for this. Even David knew the reason. When he was in high school, he used to go over and volunteer in the special ed room. And I felt these parents need someone to help their child. And I think what Special Olympics has done for all the athletes, and they start at age 8, they can go till they die. We had an 80-year-old competing. He has died. 70. You saw some older people there, which is great. It gives them a social life with their fellow teammates, and in their county. That's where they compete on a basis. But what it has done for them is they have self-esteem. A lot of them have jobs. And if you once compete, if you once volunteer and see what they're getting out of it, you're hooked. Now, next year you have to volunteer.
Oh, yeah.
I'll put you on one of my committees. But it takes a whole team here. Rich DiMarcello heads up the State College. We have 3 games a year. We have fall at Villanova,
Okay.
and Winterfest, which is skiing and outdoor sports. The Summer Games here are the largest.
You've been here, you've seen your husband do so many different things. The next step, I mean, and I know you live every day, but what would you like to see this place when you're and Joe are not involved on a day-to-day basis? Probably never think that ever going to happen. I hope it never happens, but we all know.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. What would you like to see it become?
I'd like it to continue to grow, and for us to always try to be as lily white and clean as we can be, and recruit the right kind of students and the right kind of athletes. And I'd like this to be Penn State as a whole, to put education first and always strive to make that better for everybody. Our mission in the state, we have to be really careful we don't become elitist. Sometimes it's hard to recruit an athlete that maybe has 1,100 in the boards, put them in a classroom with kids who have 1,400 or 1,450 or 1,500. And I don't want us to exclude students in the state that don't have the 1,400 or 1,500. You know, we have to remember we are a state university, and to always serve them. That's our mission.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at that and see the way academics is getting a little tougher in a lot of different ways. But at the same time, the financial cost for so many kids, forget athletes, the day-to-day kids that's trying to come to this university, this institution, it's not easy.
Yeah, and how do you control the cost? If you want the best, but we have got to stop raising tuition every year. And I don't have an answer for that. Don't know that anybody has an answer for that, but we have got to get a cap on that. The pros can do it, can't they? Don't they put caps on?
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Put a cap on the tuition, because when they graduate, their debt is so humongous that it's hard to get on with their lives.
Well, what about being Mrs. Joe Paterno and trying to go out to dinner with a guy with such a national celebrity? Has that been a challenge over the years?
Yes.
Just like, private time and
Right.
I'm with the kids here, I'm with my husband. I mean, that's got to get frustrating at times, doesn't it?
Very. I guess I'm not supposed to complain about it, but you're almost trapped in your own house. And when you do go out, then once you go out, you figure, okay, we'll stay home. The next time we'll just stay home. And when the kids were little, we learned we can't take Joe to Hershey Park. I mean, he can't go with us. Because, when you have 5 screaming kids who want to go on rides and people keep stopping you, we told him to go to the motel. so we could do it. I had to deal with the crying kids. These people that were stopping him, they had no clue there was a wife and 5 kids there that wanted to move on. And he went to the natatorium with them once. Because I said, you ought to come, and the kids have a great time in the water. You can play Marco Polo with us. Well, we couldn't get near him, so he went home. And I was glad he did. We could play. It's sad that it's even worse now because everybody seems to have a cell phone camera. You can't go anywhere or do anything without that. And I've gotten used to the gawkers that pull up in front of the house, get out and take pictures. They think, I don't know, they think I'm invisible or they don't care, but anybody who's worked at our house, like when we put the kitchen addition on, all those workers said, how can you stand this? And I said, after a while, close the curtains and I go on about my life. When I was scrubbing the walls in the living room a couple weeks ago, closed the curtains because I didn't want an audience.
Yeah. But you can't go anywhere in the country, without somebody knowing.
I do feel sorry because he's not a celebrity with his family. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And we don't view it that way. We are people with a family and trying to do the best we can do and enjoy our kids and the grandkids. He has dirty laundry. He lets his shoes where he shouldn't leave them. Eats his dinner at a certain time, whatever that time might be. One night 7, one night 7:30, one night 6. He's not a celebrity.
Could you ever see him not coaching?
I don't know how he's going to do that. Because once our season's over, he's coaching pro ball. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Every time he watches a game, he coaches.
Back up a second. So after he watches college,
right,
he really pays attention to what's happening in the pro level as well.
Even now, the expedition, wait, what are those games? What are those called?
Yeah, preseason exhibition or
exhibition games.
Right.
Expedition, that's a trip. He'll put those on and they'll watch. He'll say, now he'll do this. And I really cracked him up last night. San Francisco?
Yes.
Who'd they play?
They played Denver.
Okay, he had it on about a half an hour. And the Maroon team threw the ball, and the white team intercepted it. And then they went back. Well, some reason they got a penalty when they were going to do something. I didn't catch that part. I don't pay that much attention. And I said, well, that was dumb because he's supposed to get up, get the ball, and throw a long pass and score a touchdown. He said, you're getting to be knowledgeable.
You're getting to know this stuff, right?
What? Well, it seems that's what happens. I watch a game. As soon as he intercepts, they throw a pass and score. Well, what happened then was he was making fun of me. Well, then that guy threw, the white guy threw the ball, and the maroon guy intercepted him. So I thought, well, there goes the touchdown. I guess my theory wasn't so hot. But what he does is he, you know, he's trying to call what he would call. Do you know what I mean?
So even when he leaves the office and comes home, that TV is still, even if he's not watching Penn State film, that pro football, he's always learning.
Right. When he comes home, you have to give him a half an hour to make notes. That was tough when the kids were little and we were going to eat at 7:30. That was really tough.
How do you do that?
I just know that's the way it is every night. And
He sits down and a half hour he has his thoughts.
yes, then, okay, I'm ready. So good. It's not something you can just pull out and magically put on the table, but I sort of judge it. And if he's dilly-dallying more than a half an hour, I'll say, it's ready now if you want it hot.
Okay, for dinner. And is it consistent or is it always?
Consistent.
It's consistent.
And then he works after dinner, and then that's whatever time, he caught that, I don't know when it was. Well, when they threw that interception, whenever that was.
How neat is it when the former players come back? There's generations. Now their kids are playing.
Right. You know, that's scary.
Well, I know. The time flies by. It passes so quickly. But how nice is it, though? I mean, you could watch all these people that you know on TV on Sunday that are playing in the NFL.
Well, I don't watch that.
Well, but he does. But I'm just saying.
Well, no, they work Sunday.
Oh, they work Sunday. Okay.
I'm sorry, I just shot you down, didn't I?
problem.
Well, no, it's...
About meeting the players and things and seeing them with their kids and things. It has to be great.
Last fall, they had a reunion of his first team. And it was like, that was yesterday. One was Jimmy Littorelli, and I hadn't seen him for a long time. And we recruited him, and I had our first baby the next day. And his mother sent me a thing to hang on the wall, Madonna and Child. And I looked and I thought, Jim, was it that? You know, Diana she's all grown up and has 3 kids. It seems like yesterday. And when the Zordages were up for summer recruiting, you know, Mike just graduated. Now his sons are going to come next year. It's really sort of, where'd it go? And then they had the Letterman's golf tournament. And it was all different ages came back. So it was really fun.
But it gives you an idea just how special it is. I mean, your family's the one constant.
Yeah, because a lot of them, the coaches that were here are now all gone. When we first got married, all those coaches are gone. And you forget that because everything seems like yesterday. I don't know if that happens to you, but
It does.
where does it go?
It must be. I know we had a conversation. You were talking about how things are different when you had your last child, Scotty.
Right.
That you took yourself. You
Oh.
mentioned to me, you said, Kenny, I went to the hospital and drove myself, and I couldn't believe it.
Well,
And with how things have changed and how much you have to be a part of all this.
well, you know, Joe, from the time we were married, you don't interrupt 100 for one. I mean, he always said that. So any emergency that came up, I had to handle. The one exception was David. He had to be a part of that. But when I had the kids at Mass that morning, and I thought, oh, things don't feel so hot. And I was overdue. And I let things go. 3 kids went home, 3 kids on the bus, and then had Jay with me because he was 4. And I thought, oh, things really aren't good. Well, you don't interrupt 100 people for one new baby. So Jay went to a neighbor's. I called my mother and drove to the hospital. Now, halfway there, I just thought, this wasn't too smart. But then it was fine. I got there and had the baby, and Joe called home after practice to say he wasn't coming home before the TV show, but my mother answered. So big question, he said to my mother, Well, did Sue have the baby yet? Well, she didn't call. No cell phones in the labor room, but they didn't have cell phones then. And then he came over and was there about 5 minutes and had to go do the TV show, which was in itself priceless because he was about 30 seconds too late. And Jim said, "You're late, Joe." He said, "Yes, I just had a baby." And I thought, gee, was it tough, Joe? I mean, then Joe named Scott on TV.
Oh,
That wasn't the name we had.
It wasn't.
No, we had Thomas Jeffrey.
Oh.
And,
what made him change it? Do you
Well,
know?
he figured by that time his brother was never going to get married and have kids, so he named him George. He knew I liked the name Scott, so he named him on television, George Scott. Well, I dialed my mother. I said, "Have Joe call me when he gets home." She said, "No, the kids get him first. They're supposed to be Thomas Jeffrey." I said, "Right." So to make things easier, at Thanksgiving, I said, "We'll call the turkey Thomas Jeffrey." That was fine, till I was going to carve it. And it was Jay. "You can't cut Thomas Jeffrey." Well, we didn't eat the turkey. After they went to bed, I cut the turkey up, and they had turkey a la king. They had you could not cut this Thomas Jeffrey up. But it's, you do, I think then it was different. Now there's a heavy involvement with the men in the delivery room. Then it was, by the time I had Scotty, it was an option. I knew Joe wouldn't buy that option, so.
Do you get nervous on game day?
I started about Thursday, yeah. I always think we're going to win, which helps me. And then between Thursday and the game time being over, I probably have 20 pounds of chocolate. Helps, relaxes you. Plus it tastes good.
How do you deal with, I know it's when you win, and I don't know how many dinners and meals you've cooked for so many people. People don't realize when we got recruited here, my parents came to the home, and how you've taken care of them, how you made so many meals with so many different people, so many administrators, so many people that's been to your home that you've entertained. How do you keep that pace for so many years?
I have to-do lists, so I know what I have to do every day of the week, and chocolate helps. I don't know, you just get up and start working, and well, actually, I get up and go do my rehab so I can work all day. And just get everything ready. Thank God for freezers, because I'm not staying home for a game to get a meal. But, Saturday, there's things I have to do the last minute. I try to do everything, like set up the tables on Friday and to get all the dishes on the buffet counter, and try to do a lot of that ahead of time. But Saturday morning, you do have to go get fresh basil or fresh greens.
But how do you do when you lose? When people come to your home? And you have to...
You have to keep doing it. You just, okay, this is it, they're coming. And I think a lot of the people are people who are friends of the university. And I think they are, every once in a while you get someone who asks some pretty tough questions. And, but I think generally the Penn State people are really nice people, and that night they don't do too many stupid questions or make it harder on him. One time, we lost a pit game once in the rain. We shouldn't have. Now, it was either Todd, I think it's either Todd or...
For an interception.
Right, at the end, he was supposed to throw it out of bounds.
Yes.
Okay. He muddy.
Yes.
He came, we had a garage by then. So he came in the garage, and I heard him, and I opened the door. He said, "I don't want to see anybody or talk to anybody for a while." And he started peeling off these muddy clothes. Then he went into the bedroom, and I thought, this is really drastic. He's never done that. He usually comes in and gets showered and changes clothes and goes down. We have the cocktail party downstairs because the tables take up all the room upstairs. So I thought, this is drastic. This is not going to be a good night. Oh, this food better be perfect. But I got the stand-up Joe. And I took it downstairs and I put it in the playroom, and I said, now this is a stand-up Joe. Anyone who has a dumb question, ask it. When he comes down, not one dumb question, you're going to lose your head. So, and they all laughed, so they got the message. That was one night I don't think he could have handled. And that was the only night. You have to, you have to make yourself do it because you're committed to what we were doing. We were committed to campaigns, and that's why we had the dinners. And you have to make yourself do it. You have a commitment, you honor it. When you really want to just come home and get a shower and go to bed.
Yes.
But then there's the other side, you know, when he breaks the all-time victory record, 324, 2 national championships, Rose Bowl, I mean, we know all of that, but it is kind of worth it when you go through moments like that, isn't it?
That's what did you do for me today?
I know, or 10 minutes ago in this
Right.
world we live in, right?
Yeah. But you know, we're still the same people whether we win or lose. I wish people understood that. We are people with feelings. And are we not supposed to have them? I will tell you a funny, did I tell you about the moving van? Last week, one morning, see, I do all this stuff. Well, one morning last week, I got my shower after all this stuff I do because I get wet in the underwater treadmill. And I put my robe on. I thought, I'm going to read the paper and be a slouch for a little while and do some stuff. And my hair was wet, and I had a robe on. The doorbell rang. Now, because I'd been doing the living room walls, the curtains were still closed. I couldn't see who it was. But I heard a loud noise. Well, it was a moving van. And I thought, oh, who sent it? Was this a hit? We didn't even play yet. So I opened the door, and this man said, I want to meet Joe. I want to shake his hand. I want an autograph. I said, it's 7:30 in the morning. He said, well, I moved someone in up the street, and I want to meet him, and I want an autograph. And I said, well, it's preseason practice. He's working. Well, then you get me the autograph. And I said, you know, not today. And I said, have a good day, and I shut the door. I thought, you know, what if I pulled up in front of your house at 7:30 in the morning? Would your wife like it? What happens is, I think the biggest regret I have is we're not people anymore, we're things. And that's not who we are. And I think I feel sorry for all these young people who should be left alone to live their lives, work out their problems without having everybody in their face all the time. Let them grow and let them be themselves. Don't go into their private space, which is.
What about making another big run? You get a feeling something's, I think that's a special season coming up. That's a young team, but you know, remember when Sports Illustrated, he's leading them out and all of that? That had to feel really good about getting back on top again.
Don't know enough about football to know if we're missing a position here or there. I still don't know where everybody stands, but I try to do that cheer, end, center, tackle, guard. Am I right? But I have to go through that to figure out who's where. It's a challenge for me just to, I don't concentrate on that. I watch the game and die with the game or cheer with the game. But I can't figure out if this is going to be a great year. I always think every year is going to be a great year.
Can you feel it from your husband? Can you tell at certain times when you know?
Or I know when they had a bad practice. Well, and when the kids were young, I say, it was a bad day, don't anybody spill the milk. Don't do anything, don't fight at the table. You always knew when he walked in the door and he needed his half hour. You could tell by the way he walked. You better behave at dinner tonight or it's not going to be a fun night. Yeah, you can smell. But can I smell if we're going to have a good season this year? It's too soon.
In closing, how can people get involved? To donate money, resources, or where do they find out about the Sue Paterno Library?
Oh, all you do is call the library and ask for our development director. I'm not going to make you learn her name. It's Catherine Hanhauser. But if you just call the library, it's 865-0401, and ask to talk to the development director. A lot of people have collections that are priceless in their homes, and they might not know it. We love to get those. But we need money constantly. And, you know, become a part of the library. Everyone who donates to the library is invited to our fall donor reception. And you get a feel, just even come to the library and get a feel for what this place is about. It's vibrant.